Unbelievable. She's good.
Yeah, Kristen Wiig is great.
All right. With us here in Washington, Democratic governor from Pennsylvania, Governor Ed Rendell. Also with us, NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrew Mitchell. Great to have you both, along with Pat Buchanan and Willie Geist in New York.
Yep.
Just talking about the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania.
What's the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania, Governor?
It's around 8.7, and we've been lower than the national average for the last 72 months.
Relatively on the better
I'll
level.
tell you, in the Northeast, too, if you look at New York and the New England states, they are ravaged by high unemployment rates. What's the difference between, say, Rhode Island and Pennsylvania?
Well, number one, we have a diversified economy. We still have traditional manufacturing, which up until last August was rebounding. Coal and steel, because of China and India were really going up. We have a large healthcare economy, a good IT economy, and we've invested in our own growth.
What's your tax rate?
Our tax rate is...
Is it a friendlier tax rate than, say, Connecticut, Rhode Island?
It is, and the CNI, which is still pretty high. Governor Ridge did a good job lowering it, but the CNI is still pretty high, but 70% of the corporations don't pay it. They use the Delaware loophole, so the effective tax rate is fairly low in Pennsylvania. So that helps. But we've invested a lot. Joe, we built our infrastructure by cleaning. We had so many environmentally screwed up sites because of steel and coal and all those things. We invested a ton of money getting those sites ready for development, and it's starting to pay off dramatically.
Pat Buchanan, I was talking to a Southern governor the other day who's getting car companies to come in. They talk about how much easier it is competing, not against Pennsylvania, because, God, Pennsylvania. But I said, well, how do you compete against the Northeast? And he laughed. He said, that's easy. We've got lower taxes.
Sure.
The unions are easier to deal with here. It seems to me that when you went to New England in 1992, you were stunned by what was going on. They're getting gutted. Upstate New York's getting gutted. It's not that hard to figure out why. Businesses.
Sure. When I worked there in '92, was you go down in Laconia, the houses are being auctioned because they can't pay the taxes.
My God.
It was awful, and that was one of the problems George W. Bush had. He'd gone up there 100 times to Kennebunkport, had never come over and just seen the disaster area it was. They were in the worst shape I think they had been since the Depression, and New Hampshire had always been a very, very strong economy.
And it keeps getting worse.
The president, of course, went to Allentown, which is one area of real pain, and I was told at the Democratic caucus, this unusual Democratic caucus on health care yesterday on the Hill, went to the Democratic senators and talked, they say from the heart, he had no notes or anything with him, about what he had experienced, the people he had talked to in that meeting in Allentown. I mean, that was the image that they were sending out on Friday, and he was talking about it all weekend, saying to the Democratic senators, you cannot let this opportunity get away. And I'm told that Harry Reid and the others are more encouraged than ever before that they have 60 votes for a compromise.
Governor, is that the issue, though? Is the issue health care right now, or is the number one issue jobs?
Well, clearly number one is jobs. Health care is a concern, and the president's right. Health care does affect the entire economic structure, but the economy is still the number one job, even up in Allentown. Although the Lehigh Valley is actually coming back, getting a lot of businesses from New York and New Jersey, but still jobs is the number one and everywhere.
Pat, I've been surprised that this White House has been distracted as much as they have by health care, by abortion in health care, by cap and trade, by all of these issues that I would say are side issues instead of what we've been talking about on the set for a year now. Jobs, jobs, jobs. I mean, how does he turn his focus? I mean,
I think his job summit was designed clearly to do that, but I think it's been 23 straight months we've been losing jobs. You got the highest unemployment since '83, which was the highest since World War II. And I think he tried to do that with Allentown and everything last week, but he does keep getting pulled into these things like Afghanistan. Of course, the health care bill, this long haul slog.
God, it keeps going too. Let me ask you, Governor, about management style. Do you like your top domestic policy? Would you send it to the Pennsylvania legislature and then say, you guys figure it out, and you figure out what you want, I'll sign the bill? Because I've been stunned that the president has had a hands-off approach. He went to the Hill yesterday, but they said he wouldn't take questions and he wouldn't tell them what he supported. In his number one domestic policy, it's a management approach I've never seen.
And I agree, Joe, and it's not the management approach that a seasoned executive follows. I told the president in December after the election, I said, get your stimulus package, give it to the senators and congressmen, give it to them in late December and say you want it enacted so you can sign it on Inauguration Day. I think he had so much momentum going for him. But I think he's learning. You're going to see tomorrow, I think, a very aggressive jobs program where the president is going to say to the Congress, these are the things I need in a jobs bill. If you're going to pass it, include these things. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah. So I think he's learning.
When it comes
well, I hope so, because, again, I've never seen a president defer as much as this president.
Was health care a mistake? Was it a mistake to take it on in
That's
year
a
one?
good question.
Was it a mistake? No. I think it wasn't a mistake. I think health care is so integrally tied to the economy and to the health of the economy that he had to take it.
But it's consuming the White House. Hasn't it been a distraction from everything else?
I don't know if it's been a distraction. And look, this is the United States government. We've got some bright people. We ought to be able to multitask. We multitask in Harrisburg, and Lord knows we don't have the time.
But it appears this has gotten in the way of the #1 issue that affects Americans. I mean, come on.
Well, God, it has.
It seems like the president's late, doesn't it?
It's crowded out everything else
guys,
since June.
I agree, but remember, what was the first big initiative of this administration? The stimulus program. Whether you like it or not, that was designed to create jobs.
Right.
There wasn't enough infrastructure spending, for example. I think the president knows that, and I think you're going to see that reflected tomorrow. Building America's Future says the best way to create jobs in America is by infrastructure spending. On the
we got to go. Pat, last word. Go.
Look, hasn't healthcare consumed all his political capital? He's at 70%. He could have gotten anything he wanted. Now he's down many polls below 50%.
Yeah, I agree with that, but Abe Lincoln never worried about his approval rating when he was president. I think the president's got to do what he believes in. I think you're going to see a very aggressive jobs bill. I think you're going to see significant loan guarantees for small businesses. You're going to see investment tax credits, which we need, absolutely. And you're going to see a whole lot of infrastructure spending and a national infrastructure bank, which is exactly what we need. Yeah. The president believes, Mika, that infrastructure is a sexy word.
Oh, yes. I was wondering when you'd get that. You got it in there. Infrastructure. Somehow when you say it, Governor Rendell, my heart flutters.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much. We still need to talk about the Gridiron Dinner, and Sarah Palin, you were there, right?
You were there tweeting.
Tweeting.
All right.
Governor Rendell, thank you very much. Coming up, new developments on Tiger Woods, who's calling him out on the Sunday talk shows. You wouldn't believe it. Also, we'll have more of that.